Hello, it's Andrea from Ruby Ceramics reporting to you from the Pottery Studio here in Berkshire, UK. Do you like my new mic? I know that Jeanette from Far Forest Ceramics also got herself a new mic just recently. I'm not copying her. I had this on order before I saw it. I think lots of us see people who have good sound and want to emulate it. So this is me doing that. I ordered it back in June and it finally arrived here in July. So I thought I'd give it a go. What do you think? Do I sound better? I hope so. God, I hope so. Anyways, today I got a fun little challenge I'm trying to do. A friend is a leader at a local brownie group. It's for young girls, I think age 7 to 10, and has asked me to lead an activity with ceramics with them. And I said yes, but they're having their planning meeting. And so we have to come up with when it's going to be, what we're going to make, if it's going to be one session or it's going to be two sessions. And there's a lot of variables. And I don't think any of these people have much experience with clay. So, what I thought I would do is I would challenge myself to do a bunch of projects to bring to them to show. Now, these girls, like I said, are 7 to 10, so they're going to be fairly reasonably competent, but they definitely won't know much about clay. And we only have 1 hour per session. So, it's either going to be 1 hour and done, or it's going to be maybe 2 hours over 2 weeks. And I know from teaching things that what you think won't take that long can take that long. So, what I thought I would do is I'm going to give myself 1 hour to make as many projects as I can that I think the girls could complete in 1 hour. So, I'm guessing around 5 minutes maybe per project. So, it's not going to be, a perfect project, and it's obviously not going to be complete. But then I can take these to the leaders and my friend, and they can see what they think might be the best ideas for the girls to use. I think I will give myself a break and measure out some clay. I don't know how much to use. Maybe 300 grams per ball, so per girl. I guess it's going to depend on the project. I'll measure out some about that much because I can always get that clay prepared before I meet up with the girls, so that doesn't need to be part of the experiment. So that won't be part of my timing. But I'm going to see how many things I can come up with. I think it'll be a good test for my creativity as well to see what I can come up with, because I don't want to just do variations on one theme. I don't want just like flat ornaments and just a lot of different flat ornaments. Maybe there'll be a few, but I want to do other things as well. So let's see how it goes. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put you down, you down, you down. Where? How do I point? Yes, there. You. I'm going to put you down so you can watch me get the clay ready, and then see what I make. All right. I might do a voiceover on this bit because it's going to be silly using the mic while I'm slamming clay about. Okay, I've cut off 7 pieces of clay. I think that's enough for my little experiment. That if I'm giving myself an hour, that means a little less than 10 minutes per piece, which I think for people not working with clay would translate to about an hour. If it's longer, well, they'll have to be faster, or if it's shorter, I know how to fluff and fill in the time. Also, I made them 400 grams because I use a 12-kilogram block of clay. There's 24 girls in the group, and with that means I would get 30 blocks of clay, which means if there's a disaster or somebody needs a bit of extra clay, or I need to do something like to make extra bits, some accessories or whatever, there'll still be more in that block of clay, and that way there's only one block of clay that they have to use. I think it makes sense. We'll see. I might decide after the first thing I make that no, 400 is not enough, but it is yet to be determined. So here I am doing my first project, an owl. I chose an owl because owls are associated with brownies, like their leader's called Brown Owl, I think. I'm really coming up with this idea on the fly, so if it seems chaotic, it is. rolled out the clay, then cut out a rough shape, cut out some ears for the owl, smoothed it out again. Then I took my vinegar bottle, made some eye dents, and then using all the little offcuts, I made the rest of the sticky out bits, which included the beak, and later you'll see the eyes. Decided to use my texture roller for the wings and the body. Realized I didn't clean up the clay, so I cleaned that up, and then I made some rings for the eyes and also some pupils coming up. Dented those in, and then I was using very basic tools, just like the end of my paintbrush or a popsicle stick to make everything. So I used the popsicle stick to make some texture for the wings here. Yeah, I was happy with that, then hated that smile, so put that away. Made a hole, and that was that. That project was done. Here's the bisque you can see. I'll show you the glazed results in another video. So this second project, Pinch Pot Teacup, was very ambitious, but you know what? We were just brainstorming here, so I wasn't about to stop it just because it was a bit ambitious. And I thought it would be good practice for me because I don't do much pinch potting, and if it was super easy, maybe it would be super easy for the girls. Spoiler, it was not super easy. I cut off a bunch on the bottom because it was way too thick, and then I realized it was too thin, so I had to add a bit more clay, but it was pretty easy because the clay was soft. You'll notice in most of these I'm not using any slip to fix anything or join anything, and that's because I figure for the girls I'd rather they just use some water and scratched it well, and so things weren't joined very well, but so be it. That's the way it was. Here I'm forming a flower handle, which was way too fragile, but I liked the concept. I was actually glad I came up with this idea because I think if I refine it and try it for something else and make it a bit thicker, it would work quite well actually. So here I am putting this tiny little handle on it, and you'll see here in a second that in the bisque it did not stay, and it was totally my fault. I broke it. See, petals fell off. Oh well. So after making it complicated for a second project, I thought I'd keep it simple for this third one, and that was just to put a little texture with my roller and then do some cookie cutouts. As you'll see, I did not keep it completely simple, but I tried to. So with the circle cutter, it's easy because you just twist it and then you'll get it out. But then I forgot to put any kind of covering on these little ones, and as I pulled them out, the clay came with it, which I can imagine happening to the girls, so this is quite realistic. It's also very realistic of me, but you know, these things happen. Of course, the only problem with cutting things out is getting it then out of the cookie cutters. That wasn't too bad. There he is. Let's see how the star goes. Star's okay. Good. With the two circles, I decided to dome them out a little bit, and I thought I had a real good brainwave of using my knee to dome the shape out. Girls would be able to do that. But as I made this, I realized that I was making a closed form, which is fine for me, but maybe not for girls who aren't used to pottery, because as we know, trapped moisture causes problems, and shapes like that take a long time to dry. So while I made this for myself, I didn't end up showing the troupe as a suggestion because I thought it'd just be too complicated and likely to fail. But I did bisque the two others, as you can see here, and they're pretty cute. So project 4, making a slab bowl. Now this bowl that I used, the paper bowl, was pretty weak. I would, if we're going to do this as a final project, I would definitely choose a stronger bowl, but it is what I had, so it's what I used. Dab that in with the sponge, then cut a very rough circle. I think the brownies would do a better job than I did here, but you know, we're just trying to work out with it. Then I decided to add a little bit of decoration, and I thought, oh, it kind of looks a bit like a bird bath, so let's make a little bird. So I am making a little bird. As you can see, I'm just sticking it together on itself. The clay was very soft, so for the most part, it stuck together. But in the end, it did fall off. You'll see when I get to the bisque, because of course I didn't do a very good job. I would try and make sure that any little bits that were like this were put on a little bit better. Even this little headpiece thing that I'm making right here, that fell off. I can't remember if it fell off before I bisqued it or after I bisqued it, but it didn't survive either way. One of the bits that I put on here does survive, but not the bird. So just added some decoration, very basic, very rough, but I just wanted to get an idea. And again, remember, I'm working with a 5-minute time limit for all of these, so I'm just doing things. I added, this is random ball, I don't know why, but there I did. Then I got a little texture and was going to do something with that. Then I thought it looked like a pair of eyes and kind of an animal, so I started to shape that into a face, whether it was a fox or a badger, I don't know. But it looked enough like a face that I thought I'd put this on the side of the bowl too. And this is the piece that made it through the bisque, as you'll see in a minute. Because of course it had a little bit more surface area because I put it on flat like that. So yeah, it was the start of an idea, and obviously gives a chance for the girls to add a lot of creativity and their own touches, whether by glazing it afterwards or by sculpting little bits to add on to it, as long as they're careful with it, of course. Added a couple little eye details, and there you go. So here's that little bird. As you can see, it fell off. I thought the crest did, but it didn't, but it did fall off the plate. There's the plate with the badger. It's a bit rough, but I think if I use a stronger plate, it could work well. And on to the next project. So first of all, apologies, I filmed this in portrait mode, so I had to zoom in a little to try and make it fit for this YouTube video. But yeah, basically this was 2 thin pinch pots. Well, not thin, but shallow, if you know what I mean. And then here, you get a better idea of what I'm doing. Then I formed the 2 for the body. I started making a little hat, which I thought was super cute. In fact, I think I'm going to make these for Christmas. Once I came up with this idea, I thought it worked really well because as you'll see, you know, the texture just adds a little bit of cute, organic nature to it. And then when I put the carrot nose on it, it sticks up in a place where you could leave your ring. And I thought it was pretty genius in the end. It looked really cute once I've glazed it. It's still waiting to be bisque fired because it was a bit bigger and I wanted to treat it gently and make sure that it didn't break. But yeah, look how cute it is even in raw clay. So I don't know what happened to my video footage, but I didn't get any of Project 7 and only half of this of the fairy door, but I'll tell you about the fairy door. So what I liked about this is you can cut it out in any shape. It doesn't have to be perfect because fairies don't necessarily have perfect doors. I started to write my name on it, but then after I decided I would put a little pocket on the front of that bit where my name is and put my name on that. And put some wood texture in, made a fairy door for the fairy door so the fairies could get in, of course. Added a snail, you'll see part of that, and that's where the video ends. Added a window and some starry flowers. But you'll see all of that in the bisque because, like I said, I don't know what happened to my video footage, but it disappeared. I think my phone might have decided it was giving up at that point. It was maybe too hot or something. But here's the finished bisque. Isn't it cute? I think it's cute. It's certainly fun with that pocket in front. Okay, I'm done. So I took just a little over 60 minutes because I figured between having to do all the filming and relocating of the camera and stuff and not having rolled out my clay in advance for some of the flat things, it was okay. I gave myself 5 extra minutes to finish something off, and that's fine. So I did 7 different projects. I know you're watching along, but let's look at them all together and I'll give you my opinions on what I think. But this isn't going to be just my decision. So, but you can also let me know what you think in the comments. Please do. Okay, so first I made this owl. I think it's cute. Maybe with a pocket in front, it would be better. Like it's meant to be like a little door hanger. I think they could do a lot of texture with this and practice. Maybe a bit simplistic. Definitely the hardest thing to do would be make a cup, a pinch pot cup of some sort. I think this is perhaps a little too ambitious. I'm going to come back and refine this just for myself. This plate, easy enough with just a bunch of plates underneath it to support it. They could make a better edge than I made there. Do decorating, it's okay. Perhaps I don't have the imagination for this. Perhaps the girls would be better with that. Fairy door, yeah, that's fun. I think that could be, I could just cut the slabs out roughly and then they could make it better. They could practice putting this piece over with their name because I think this would be really cute on a door to hang there. Ornaments, this one is the coolest one, but it's also the most dangerous for my kiln, being double-sided, so maybe this isn't the one to do.
or not double-sided, but the fact that I've made it almost a closed thing, because if there's moisture trapped in here, it's going to go when it gets fired. So that's not what we want. So, and I can't rely on them to necessarily not trap air or moisture in it. The flat ones, they're good. I think they're a little bit simplistic and boring, but they could do some. Like if we did gingerbread men, I have bigger cutters for that. They could then paint them with underglaze or something in the same session. So that could be work quite well. I think this one's my favorite, and this one's my second favorite. This is just like a trinket dish, and I've made the snowman nose so that you could put rings on top of that. I even have a ring here. I don't want to get it, well, it's already pretty dirty from clay, but I could just go over there so they don't get lost. So I think that's quite good. And it still gives them a lot of room for decoration. You know, they could put a scarf, they don't need a hat, or they could put something extra on the hat, whatever. These bowls take a little bit of skill to make because you build an edge, but they don't take too much skill. It's okay if there's texture in it. That's fine. The other good one is if we don't do a Christmas one, if we instead do something for Halloween, it's just with the open instruction to make a monster. Sorry, I just bent this poor monster's teeth, which is something I'll have to watch out for. Maybe maybe the example with the teeth isn't so good. Do you like his mustache? I like his mustache. And that, you know, if I just say make a monster with a big mouth, that gives them a lot of freedom of how to make this, right? Maybe too much freedom. I don't know. Something to think about. Give us a kiss. Mwah. Isn't he cute?
One thing I don't like about this mic is I keep forgetting to turn it on. And when I forget to turn it on, there's absolutely no sound, which is not ideal. It's not ideal, really. So that is something I will have to remember to do. I just filmed this whole segment already and there was no sound. So here we go again. Anyways, that's everything. Tell me which one you think would work best for 7 to 10-year-olds in 1 hour. I don't know whether we're going to be glazing slash underglazing in that same hour or if we're going to have another session to do that. So keep that in mind. You know, maybe there's one that you think would be good for 1 hour, another one that you think would be good for 2 hours. Let me know either way. Or if you have another suggestion of something we could do, please comment. If you made a YouTube video about it already, link it to me so I can watch it and like it. We're all here to learn from each other, right? That's the idea for YouTube, I think. So, at least the best use of it. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I'm going to spend another few minutes off camera here just refining some of the things I think I will fire. Not everything is going to get fired. Some of it will just let dry so they get an idea of it. But a few things I think are good enough to put through the kiln. If you liked it, please like the video. If you didn't like it, please leave a comment of why you didn't like it so I can make it better for next time. And if you think I'm fabulous, please subscribe. All right. See you next time. Next time should be a kiln unload. So look forward to that. Thanks. Bye bye from Andrea at Rubier Ceramics.